What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Too Good for Theaters video. With the NFL legal tampering period now open and free agency truly beginning, the New England Patriots make some opening moves here, bring in some new faces as well as re-signing some old faces. So let's break down some of these opening moves by the New England Patriots. So starting off, the plethora of moves made here by the New England Patriots. The Patriots are able to pluck away free agent pass rusher Harold Landry III on a 3-year, $43.5 million contract, with around 26 of that $43.5 million being in guaranteed money here. And this was a big area of need here, needed for the New England Patriots on my list of top priorities really needed to fill in this offseason. I actually had defensive edge or pass rushing more so as that second spot, slightly behind the offensive tackle position, but clearly this was a priority move here by the New England Patriots. You know, day one of free agency here, bringing back a guy who both Mike Vrabel as well as Terrell Williams are familiar with, and hopefully that's going to be able to translate well here to New England. You know, Mike Vrabel is trying to establish his own culture, and it's on the front office to really supply him with the type of players that he wants. So hopefully Harold Landry is going to be able to kind of move all that production and that being that culture guy here up here to New England. And really, this is a good fit for the Patriots because Harold Landry had his best seasons in his NFL career thus far under Mike Vrabel as well as Terrell Williams. And of course, you know, he's only been in the league for around 7 to 8 seasons now, and Mike Vrabel has been the coach for 7 or 6 of those seasons here. But, I mean, it's just a good move here. The Patriots clearly wanted to prioritize this, and Mike Vrabel clearly has a familiarity with Harold Landry III. And you can't argue with the production that Harold Landry III has been putting up in Tennessee down there. He's been one of the better pass rushers across the league for the past 5 years here. And he has a total of 256 career tackles, but even more impressive, a career total of 57 sacks. So this is someone who can generate pressure and get to the quarterback. And I'll be talking a little bit more so about those stats a little later on in this video here. But me personally, I would have been a little reluctant to dish out some of these top dollars to some of these edge rushers in this free agency pool here, especially given the fact that this is such a deep draft class in terms of pass rushing as well as edge talent coming out of this year's draft. But hell, the New England Patriots have the money to spend in this offseason. It's a clear area of need, and it was a top priority, it looked like, by this coaching staff, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm not going to sit here and complain about this move. You know, there is a little bit of injury concern with Harold Landry. Of course, he had a little bit of an ACL issue. He actually missed the entire 2022 season because of a torn ACL. But that did not hamper his production whatsoever. He still came back during these 2023 seasons as well, or the 2023 campaign, as well as the 24 campaign, and still put up very good numbers here. So I do believe that he is past that injury. And that's something that you have to keep in mind when dishing out this money to some of these free agents here. But I keep raving about the production of Harold Landry in Tennessee, but why not show you? So let's get into the stats of Harold Landry III. So starting off with his most recent campaign here, his 2024 season with the Titans. Of course, all these numbers are courteous of PFF. He had a defensive grade of 70.5, a run defense grade of 82.2, a tackling grade of 74.3, a pass rush grade of 49.6, and a coverage grade of 74.7. He came up with 42 tackles for around a missed tackle percentage of 6.5. This is going to be a common theme. Harold Landry is a sure tackler in this league, and you're going to see he has very good tackling grades. Really has not had a missed tackle percentage of over 10% with his time in the NFL here. So a very steady tackler here. A very good theme to see from a defensive edge player. He came up with 30 total pressures last season, 15 hurries, 6 QB hits, 9 sacks, and had a batted ball there. So as you can see, has been one of the better pass rushers, even last season, getting to the quarterback 9 times. Patriots certainly could have used that last season, but hopefully he's going to be able to kind of move that production here to New England. And just take a look at by his snaps of alignment. This is someone who's really strictly on the defensive line, especially outside the tackles there from the edge position. He actually had a total of 832 snaps taken along the defensive line. Only had 23 box snaps and 22 slot corner snaps. So as you can see, this is someone who's going to be on the line. He's not going to be like a traditional linebacker or being in the box or really in coverage at all in that slot corner role. Very limited usage on the outside there. So this is someone who you're strictly just going to have playing on the edge and really tuning him up to get to the quarterback here. But let that not be mistaken. He's not a bad run defender whatsoever, as you can see with that 82.2 run defense grade there. So this is someone who could stay on the field for all 3 downs for the Patriots, and that's certainly going to be very vital to this Patriots defense that really has kind of had that platoon role along the defensive line for several seasons now. Having someone like Harold Landry basically being an equivalent of Matthew Judon here, someone who can get to the quarterback as well as still be productive in the run game there. Maybe not the same production as Matthew Judon, but he could certainly take over that Matthew Judon-esque role here for the Patriots. Moving on to his 2023 campaign, he had a defensive grade of 64.6, a run defense grade of 64.2, a tackling grade of 67.3, a pass rush grade of 62.6, and a coverage grade of 57.8. Came up with around 40 tackles, very similar production to what he did in the 2024 campaign, for around a missed tackle percentage of only 8%. Had 47 pressures on the quarterback, 26 hurries, 10 QB hits, 11 sacks, and allowed 14 receptions for a receiving rate of 87.5. As you can see, not really someone that you want to put into coverage here, but I mean, you're talking about 11 sacks and 20 sacks over the past 2 seasons. This is someone who gets to the quarterback, and it's something that the Patriots desperately need. And this was his last year under Mike Vrabel, and you can see he really has had his best years under Mike Vrabel and this Vrabel staff. But very similar snaps by alignment, how they used him last season compared to the 2023 campaign. He played 783 snaps along the defensive line compared to 37 box snaps and 20 slot snaps in general. So this, like I said before, someone you're just strictly going to put on the edge, really trying to set the edge as well as get to the quarterback and turn up there. Lastly, I wanted to break down his 2021 campaign, the season before he tore his ACL. Really probably was the best season of his career. He had a defensive grade of 63.3, a run defense grade of 62.2, a tackling grade of 79.8, a pass rush grade of 56.8, and a coverage grade of 66.8. He had 50 total tackles for around a missed tackle percentage of 7%. Very elite in terms of that category. 70 pressures on the season, 42 hurries, 12 QB hits, 16 sacks, and allowed 18 receptions for a reception rate of 94.7. Very similar snaps by alignment to how they used him previously. He took 942 defensive line snaps compared to only 57 box snaps and 38 slot snaps. So, as you can see under this Vrabel staff, Harold Landry has low-key been one of the better pass rushers in the NFL for these past seasons here. And it's going to be interesting if this Vrabel staff is going to be able to reignite Harold Landry here in New England. Let me not say reignite because he's still very productive, but maybe he can match those similar pass rush numbers that he had under the Vrabel administration here in New England. So moving on to the next move here, also along the defensive line, the Patriots are able to retain free agent Jeremiah Pharms, of course, an interior defensive lineman here, 28 years old, on a 2-year, $2.2 million contract. More so a depth piece here for the Patriots, but he did actually take a big portion of snaps for your Patriots last season, as we know, kind of reminiscent of that Danny Shelton role, that big nose tackle, or at least one of those big defensive tackles who could really put on the interior of the defensive line here. And especially now that Devon Gottschall has actually been traded for a 7th-round pick. A little bit of breaking news during this recording of this video here. Jeremiah Pharms is going to be able to expand his role here under the Patriots with this Mike Vrabel staff here. But just taking a look at some of his grades over these past 2 seasons here for the New England Patriots. His 2023 campaign, he had a defensive grade of 69.9, a run defense grade of 59.5, a tackling grade of 35.2, a pass rush grade of 68.9, and a coverage grade of 71.7. This was under the Belichick regime. Of course, Belichick's last season here with the Patriots. He had a missed tackle percentage of 20%. Granted, he only had 5 tackles on the season, so really not that much of a sample size there. He had 3 pressures and 3 hurries, and his snaps by alignment, strictly just a defensive lineman. He took 68 defensive tackle snaps, 15 nose tackle snaps, and only 7 edge snaps there. But then you take a look at his 2024 campaign under the Gerard Mayo era, where he had a big uptick in terms of snap counts here. He He had a defensive grade of 58.1, a run defense grade of 57, a tackling grade of 56.4, a pass rush grade of 56.6, and a coverage grade of 60.6. He had 21 tackles for only a missed tackle percentage of 9%. Very good improvement in that category. He had 19 total pressures, 15 hurries, 3 QB hits, and came up with 2 sacks. But taking a look at his defensive alignment snaps, of course, all along the defensive line, he had a total of 457 defensive line snaps. He actually took 173 snaps from the defensive tackle position, 23 nose tackle snaps, as well as 185 defensive end snaps. So Jerod Mayo kind of moved him along the line a little bit more, and we did see a little bit of an uptick in terms of his pass rush numbers here. But as I said before, I think this is more so going to be a little bit of a depth signing for the Patriots here. Of course, you have Christian Barmore hopefully going to be able to return to a full season here. But in the meantime, especially with Devon Godchaux now traded, I mean, there's going to be opportunity for guys like Jeremiah Pharms, Daniel Quale, as well as Jaquelin Roy to kind of move into that defensive tackle spot and gain themselves some more playing time here. But I would say a pretty solid value contract here for a guy like Jeremiah Pharms, just a depth piece, someone who can be in the rotation along these defensive lines here, and who weighs 300 pounds. So maybe you could play him a little bit at nose tackle if you want to, if you're Mike Vrabel or Terrell Williams. And maybe that staff is able to kind of bring up some production here with Jeremiah Pharms. And Terrell Williams, as I kind of did in a previous video here, really has just done a real nice job along the defensive lines. And teams that he really has been coaching, a lot of the defensive linemen have been able to see upticks in their production here. So hopefully that translates well to Jeremiah Pharms here. And maybe Jeremiah Pharms here is able to have somewhat of a career season here under this Vrabel administration. Staying on that side of the ball here, the Patriots were able to come to a contract agreement with Alex Austin on a tender contract, which is basically a 1-year minimum value contract. And I think that this is a very good signing by the Patriots. Obviously a depth piece, that being Alex Austin, but especially with Jonathan Jones hitting the open market and trying to gauge his true value here in free agency. This is someone who can come in and compete for starting reps opposite of Christian Gonzalez in that CB2 role. And there's been times where Alex Austin has looked like a legitimate corner in this league. I point in particular to the Colts game of last season where the Patriots actually had him on Michael Pittman for a number of snaps. And he was able to come away with a couple of pass breakups and really did not allow Michael Pittman to have a big-time impact on that game. But then you also take a look at some of the Jets games last seasons where Alex Austin, especially in that Week 3 matchup, gave up that touchdown to Allen Lazard, and it looked like Aaron Rodgers was kind of targeting him a little bit in that role. But really, just between the consistency of Alex Austin and the role that he really has played under the Patriots these past 2 seasons, I think that there's legitimate hope that Alex Austin could kind of evolve into that CB2 role, especially if Jonathan Jones does end up signing elsewhere here. But taking a look at his 2024 campaign, of course there was only 6 games here, so not the biggest of sample size, but a decent size. He had a defensive grade of 61.1, a run defense grade of 44.8, a tackling grade of 50.9, a coverage grade of 63.9. Taking a look at some of his stats here, came up with a total of 9 tackles for around a missed tackle percentage of 17%. You'd like to see that get a little lower, but from a secondary player, especially a corner, not the worst tackler in the world there. He was targeted 19 times and only allowed 9 receptions for a reception rate of 47.4. And I understand that some of those numbers are a little skewed here. Faced a backup quarterback in that Bills game to kind of close out that campaign. But still, that's a very solid reception rate, especially from a CB2, CB3 role that Alex Austin was kind of playing last season. So hopefully he's able to kind of translate that well into this season and under this new scheme here with the Patriots. Only allowed 76 yards in total last season. He did give up that touchdown, but he also had 5 pass breakups. So Alex Austin had really good coverage last season. And I think that he's someone who can kind of stick around with the Patriots here. I'm surprised that the Patriots didn't actually try and kind of ink him to a multi-year deal here, maybe like a 2-year, $2.2 million, same as Jeremiah Pharms. But I mean, this is someone who I'm going to be very interested in kind of monitoring the training camp battles here of that CB2 kind of fight. And I think that Alex Austin actually could be a little bit of a favorite here to win that job pretty early. So it's going to be interesting to monitor that going to be taking a very close eye on those CB2 reps in the preseason. And hopefully Alex Austin is able to kind of expand his role and become the starting corner opposite of Gonzo here. So lastly, in this video, I want to talk about the Patriots re-signing tight end Austin Hooper here to a 1-year, $5 million contract. And I believe that contract could go up to $7 million based on some incentives here. But from a tight end too, Austin Hooper was very productive for you last season. He established a pretty good rapport with Drake May. And of course, he has some familiarity with this Patriots offensive coaching staff, with Josh McDaniels coming over from Las Vegas, where Austin Hooper actually played under him in 2023. So it's going to be interesting to see how Josh McDaniels uses Austin Hooper and to kind of compare him to some tight end twos of the past here for the Patriots. There's guys like Dwayne Allen, Scott Chandler, Michael Olwanimanui, even guys like Aaron Hernandez. And of those, other than Aaron Hernandez, Austin Hooper is by far probably the best receiving tight end of those names that I threw out there. So maybe Josh McDaniels can scheme up some things that would allow Austin Hooper to be very productive in that tight end 2 role. And really, especially given how productive he was last season and how the tight end room was really one of the only bright spots on this Patriots offense, other than quarterback Drake May, of course, it's going to be an advantage for the Patriots to really bring out these 2 tight end sets and to have very serviceable tight ends like Austin Hooper as well as Hunter Henry. But enough about me talking about production here. Let's actually get into numbers here. For the 2024 season, Austin Hooper had an overall grade of 75.8, a receiving grade of 75.5, a pass block grade of 68.4, and a run block grade of 65.9. He was targeted 59 times, came down with 45 receptions for around a reception rate of 76.3. He had 476 yards. For a tight end 2, that was very productive. And as I said before, I believe he was the only pass catcher to have multiple receiving touchdowns from Drake May. He came down with a total of 3 touchdowns during that season, came up with 10.6 yards per reception, and actually did a pretty solid job in terms of contested catch rate, around 66%, catching 8 of 12 contested balls last season. And kind of taking a look at where he was used by his snaps by alignment, he was more so an end-line tight end here. He took 431 snaps along the offensive line. He had 93 slot snaps and 50 snaps out wide. But even more important, take a look at his 2023 campaign under Josh McDaniels. You can kind of see the diversity shift a little bit here. Of course, took the majority of his snaps along the offensive line, being a inline tight end for 406 of those snaps. He actually played a ton of more slot snaps. He took 106 slot snaps in the 2023 campaign. He had 38 snaps out wide. And Josh McDaniels actually used him in the backfield a little bit for 6 snaps. So maybe some exotic formations where Austin Hooper is actually in the backfield could be something on the Patriots cards this season. But as I said before, Josh McDaniels is going to have to do his best to get whatever use he can of this tight end room, because honestly, it's probably the best room on the Patriots offense right now other than that quarterback room. So Josh McDaniels is going to have a big task here, and bringing back Austin Hooper is certainly a positive for this Patriots roster, someone who was very productive for you last season. And whenever you have someone gaining chemistry with your young quarterback, that's someone that you want to return, especially a veteran like Austin Hooper. So pretty solid contract here, a good depth signing by the Patriots, and hopefully he's going to be able to correlate all the production he had in Vegas as well as last season towards that 2025 Patriots campaign. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this video here. A big name in that group, of course, being Harold Landry, as well as some depth signing here for the New England Patriots. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below of bringing back some of these players as well as some new additions, and what you would like for the Patriots to do throughout the rest of this free agency period. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.